Hello and welcome to the Moms Who Know podcast. I'm your host, Chanel Nielsen, and I am really excited about our guest today, Nathan Ogden. Nathan, how are you doing today?
I am doing really good. Glad to be here.
Good. I'm so glad. So Nathan and I have talked a couple times on the phone, and every time that I've talked to him, I've gotten more excited about doing this podcast because as I've watched some of his videos and read parts of his story, it was really interesting already, just starting at that. But then as I talked to him and really kind of got a feel for, I guess, the depth of character from the things that he's been through, that just made me super excited to share his story with everyone. So Nathan, with that introduction, let me tell a little bit more about him. Nathan is a father of four. He's an author. He's an inspirational keynote speaker, and he is also a quadriplegic. So to start off with, will you tell us a little bit about your story and your injury? I guess we'll kind of start there.
Yeah, no problem. I'll try and make it short because there's a lot of details that could make a long story. But I'm from Boise, Idaho. I love the outdoors. I love sports. I love all that type of stuff. And I grew up doing all of that. I graduated from high school, went on a 2-year mission for the LDS Church, and came back, went to college, and met my wife at Rick's College, which is now BYU, Idaho. She is way out of my league. I don't know how I convinced her to settle with a guy like me, but somehow I wooed her over, and we had been married for 4.5 years. I graduated from college. We'd bought our first home. My career was taking off. We had 2 really young kids. We had a 2.5-year-old girl named Senia and a boy who was almost 1 year old. And my wife is from Bend, Oregon, and we decided to go there for Christmas for a week. So I took off work, we head there, and I went up skiing on Mount Bachelor, which is snow skiing, which is beautiful big mountain over there. I went with my brother-in-law, who was probably about 15, 16 at the time. And I'm 26 years old. I love going off jumps. I love having fun on the ski hill. And while we were on one of our last runs, I came down and I went off this jump too hard. There were a lot of people watching as others came off this jump, and I allowed my confidence in my skills turn into more cockiness. And I thought that
the ego got in the way.
Exactly. Yeah. Everyone's watching. I'm like, you know what? This is going to be bigger and better than I ever thought. I'm going to nail this thing. And I hit it going too fast, and it shot me about 30 feet into the air. And
Wow.
That's not my projection. That's what others said that I got. And I slowly rotated backwards, and I came down and landed on my neck. And my body just collapsed on top of me. My ski poles, skis, half my clothing, everything just flew off of me, and I tumbled, and I ended up in a fetal position facing downhill. And I remember my very first thought was, oh, crap. I look like such an idiot. I just wrecked in front of everyone. I got to get up. Oh, man, I just made a fool of myself. So I tried to get up as quickly as I could, and all I could do was move my elbow a little bit. And then it fell back to the snow, and I thought, no big deal. It's all right. I just knocked the wind out of myself. I'm okay. So I waited a few moments. I tried to get up again, and I could only move my elbow about half as high. And then it fell back to the cold snow. And about that time, there was this burning pain that began all throughout my body. When I say burning, I don't exactly know how to describe it. And I feel this still today. It feels like if you were up just camping in the mountains with your family, making s'mores by the fire, and someone just picked you up and sat you on the fire, and
Wow.
you started scalding.
And that was throughout your entire body, not in one specific location.
I felt that everywhere. And like I said, it's still something I feel today. But as that started to come all over me, then I realized I was having a harder time to breathe. My lungs weren't opening up like they should. And I would look down at my legs and I'm like, come on, move, get up. Why aren't you doing this? I've never fallen and not been able to get up again. And even though I knew something serious had happened, I still didn't think it was that bad. I thought, I jolted my body. It's in shock. Give it a couple hours, maybe a day. I'll be back up walking around just fine. No big deal. And I've always wanted to go on, if anyone skis, the first aid, the people up there, they take you down in that sled if you get hurt. And I've always wanted to go on that sled. So I kind of thought this is my opportunity. It's really, I did learn it's not as fun as you think it is.
Yeah, but probably not.
So my brother-in-law comes crawling up the snow to me as fast as he can. And the first thing he tells me is, hey, man, are you all right? What's wrong? How can I help? And I guess my attitude at the time, even though all this was happening, the first thing I said was, hey, I think we're going to be a little late to dinner tonight. And that we were, because what I didn't know is when I landed on my neck, I shattered my C7 vertebrae, which is kind of your lowest vertebrae in your neck. And it completely exploded and sent little bone fragments throughout my neck and into my spinal cord. And I was instantly paralyzed. So that's kind of where I was at 26, 2 young kids, wife. I mean, my life was going the way I always thought it should. You've got your home, your family, good job. And now all of a sudden, a few days later, when I wake up and I've gone through surgery and doctors are telling us that most likely you'll never walk again. My life was kind of turned upside down there for a bit. And I say mine, but at that moment, I probably feel worse for my wife.
Yeah, that's such a good point. I mean, for both of you, that's huge. Like you said, to be in that phase of life where everything's ahead of you and you're just getting started, and then a big shift in how it's going to go down after that.
True, a huge shift. But I have an amazing wife, and we're both very positive. We're competitive, and no matter how bad it was, we both thought, it doesn't matter, I'm going to walk again. We have too many dreams. We have too many goals and things we want to do in life. This is not going to beat us. And I have to say us because it was never me. I don't know if I ever would have done it if it was just me. I had my wife and I had 2 kids to fight for. Yeah. And that's a lot of times what kept me pushing. So over that next year, it was hard, but I gained back most of the use of my upper body. I had about 90% of the use of my hands, and my legs were just starting to move a tiny, tiny bit, but they were moving.
Now, let me ask you, so was this, as you're doing this and you're progressing physically and you're able to, move more, were the doctors surprised? Is that something, it sounds like to have your C7 vertebrae totally shattered, that I don't know. I don't know enough about it, I guess. Is that something that people generally can come back from if they work hard enough and be able to get over that paralysis?
Number one, I'd have to say that the spinal cord is probably, maybe your mind and your spinal cord are the 2 most unknown things about the body. They're so unpredictable, and they're not really sure of what it means. So they're things you kind of go by. But no, someone who breaks their neck the way I did typically does not walk again.
Okay.
They may have different levels of movement that they get back, but no, you'll be a quadriplegic. Now, there's people you'll hear that break their neck and they're walking around. Well, that's a different type of break.
Right. So even to have that much mobility back was pretty amazing. You were working really hard, and it sounds like a lot of mind over matter, and really, wanted this. Yes.
Yeah,
And then you had a setback.
And we had a little setback, but I guess before the setback, it was awesome because I'm still in a wheelchair, but I had a truck equipped that I could drive because I don't like minivans. And sorry if you mothers drive minivans, but they're not for me. I was like, leave me in the hospital. You're not sticking me in a minivan.
I like the minivan personally, but anyway, yes, my husband would agree. The truck is the way to go.
Exactly. So we had a truck equipped. I started working full time again. My job worked with me on it, and so we still had a home. We had a job. We had our family. We still had dreams. We just had kind of a detour to try and figure out how to get there. So things were starting to become a new normal again. And I came down with pneumonia. I got sick because my lungs and diaphragm are a lot weaker than everybody else now. And my wife said, Nathan, you got to get into the hospital. And I'm like, no, I hate the hospital. I've done my time. But I told her, all right, if I'm still sick in the morning, I'll go in. And I went to sleep that night. And in the middle of the night, I went unconscious in my sleep. My blood oxygen level dropped so low that they told me that if my wife hadn't woken up and felt prompted to wake me up, I probably would have died in my sleep. So they rushed me into the hospital, take me into the x-ray room, and they've got me propped up on the x-ray table, trying to get a shot of my lungs to see how bad the pneumonia is. And while I'm on the x-ray table and I'm still unconscious, I was dropped off the x-ray table and they broke my neck again. This time higher up, at the C6 level. And so after this neck break, I lost the use of my hands, my triceps, and everything from the chest down that I'd gained back. So all that I'd worked so hard to get, and all those kind of dreams and motivation that I had just been ripped out from under me. And
yeah, now you say, going back, just I want to clarify a little bit here. You say they dropped me. Do you know, like, new guy on the job? Do you know specifically what happened, or do you not know the details?
We don't know everything. There was only myself and an x-ray tech in the room. Heather was sitting in a chair right outside the door. So we're not exactly sure. We don't need to get into all that. He could have bumped the table. I could have maybe had a spasm and I fell off because I wasn't secured to the table. So we're not exactly sure, but I guess it doesn't really matter. It happened. So Heather heard the crashing of me hitting the ground and the guy jumping over trying to hold me. And she comes running in and just saw me laying on the floor with him holding my head. And so
wow,
I'm sure that was pretty traumatic on her and what she had to go through. But I guess when I look back at the two, I like to say that the first neck break, I was physically paralyzed. And it's no doubt, you can see that as I enter a room. But after the second neck break, even though I was physically paralyzed even more, to me, it was more of a mental paralysis. Because after a few months, I realized that I'm not getting my hands back. My arms aren't coming back as strong as they were. And my legs that were just starting to move were now lifeless. And so when I say mental paralysis, it's not that I had brain damage, even though my wife may claim that. It's that I felt stuck. All the things that I've wanted to do, all the times I wanted to take my son and daughter and hike up in the mountains to upper mountain lakes and go fishing, the way my dad taught me to do it. I wanted to go out with my daughter and teach her how to play volleyball, or my son to throw a football. Those are things that were always in my mind. I want to be the one to walk with my wife on the beach in Hawaii. And now those things weren't going to happen. And it was hard to grasp that. And I felt frozen. I felt like I was stuck because I didn't know how to overcome that. And that's why I ended up writing a book titled Unfrozen, which deals with how to overcome these struggles that we all deal with so that you can start living your life again.
Yeah. So talk to us a little bit about that, about how you got out of that place of stuckness and of feeling like, I mean, how do you probably at some point, wanted to just give up. You said you were stuck there and frozen there and mental paralysis. How did you get beyond that?
I can, number one, say there wasn't a big moment in your life. Some people say it was October 13th, 1997. All of a sudden, boom, it hit me and I changed my life. It didn't happen like that. It took years of me dealing with different aspects of mental paralysis and physical paralysis, with trying to figure out how to overcome all this pain that I feel and how severe it was. And then it was trying to figure out, all right, how do I provide for my family again? How do I be the man of the house? How do I have a relationship with my wife? It's a lot different now. And how do I be that dad? I mean, there were so many little things, but I will say that the pain that I feel is a very big contributor to a lot of this for a while, because of this really strong burning pain. I don't know how to fully describe it, but we've tried a lot of different medications and remedies and therapies and whatever you can think of to try and overcome it. And they had to be on a medication once that was supposed to help with this nerve pain. And it did for a little bit. Like, say on a pain scale of 1 to 10, my pain never goes below a 5. And it'll usually fluctuate throughout a day up to a 8 or 9 and then back down in that 5 range.
Wow.
And so mentally, it's a hard thing to deal with. So when this medication kind of helped that, keep it around a 5 or 6, that was good. But it was also, part of that medication was an antidepressant. And so I was on this for a couple of years, and it finally got to the point that my kids and my wife would say, "Who are you? I mean, Dad, you never laugh. You never cry. You're not who you once were." And that really hurt, because it's not that I didn't want to be that person. I didn't know how to be that person, and I didn't know if I could be that person. So I did make a decision after, I don't talk about this much. Actually, I've hardly ever talked about it. But I got into depression. I wouldn't admit it. I didn't realize it. But I was very depressed. And I didn't sit in bed all the time. I mean, I coached my kids' soccer teams. I went to their concerts. I did stuff. I was there. But I think that's all I was, is I was there. I wasn't, I was physically there. I was participating, but I wasn't living life the way I wanted it to be.
Right.
And my wife had come to me, and she was getting really frustrated with the whole situation, and how are we going to provide for the family, and how are we going to do this? And you're making all these promises, but you're not keeping them. And it's not that I didn't want to keep a promise. It's that I think if anyone's dealt with anxiety and depression and just that overwhelmingness, you want to do better. You want to do it, but you don't. And my wife had brought up the divorce word. And she never said, "I want a divorce." She just said, "Nathan, we've got to do something." And she talked about how she had thought about it. And that just blew me away. And I was like, what? How could you even let that into your mind? And that really hurt. But the more I thought about it, I'm like, you know what? It's true. She said that I was unfaithful to her. And I'm like, how can you even claim that? But I was, in the sense that I was unfaithful, that I wasn't keeping promises to her. And so I decided I had to change. And so one thing I did, I'll say this, there's two main things that I did that I think helped. There's a lot more that goes into it, but these are two things that I did. The first was that I decided that I would rather get off that medication and have more pain, but be able to live life, to be able to laugh and to cry and to be a part and enjoy everything that was around me, than to have less pain and just kind of be there. And
yeah, and that has got to be such a tough choice. That's so courageous just hearing you say that, that what your choices were between. And so that's amazing. Okay, go on.
I mean, what do you want more in life? And it was, my pain went up. And my family still makes fun of me today for that next month after I came off that antidepressant / pain medication. Is I was a baby. I mean, I cried at anything. You could put a car commercial on TV that was, some kid coming home from college and the dad giving him keys to the car. I was bawling at it. And I would laugh at anything. I mean, my kids would just laugh and laugh and laugh and point fingers at me, like making fun of dad. Because all these emotions, literally, it's like all these emotions I'd had for a couple of years, now all of a sudden were released. And maybe that month was a little embarrassing, but man, it has allowed me to enjoy life, to take everything that's happening and live in the moment and go with it. And that's not to say life is not hard. I still have many, many moments that I struggle, that I have to figure out how to get out of that feeling of being stuck still. But that leads to the second thing, is I decided that I needed to do something to, I guess, almost trick myself, if you will. Because I would go into my office. I always wanted to be a motivational speaker. I knew that's what I needed to do, or an inspirational speaker. And I would go into my office. I'd have every intention. I'm ready for the day. And I would be in there and I'd be doing stuff. But after 6 hours had gone by, I hadn't really got anything done. I was just kind of doing stuff again. And I thought, how am I going to get past this? So I set down a few little rules. And the first rule was, whether you're religious or not, this is what I did, is I knew that I wanted to read the scriptures every day. That's something I believed in. And so I could not read the paper. I couldn't check my phone. I couldn't look at emails. I couldn't watch TV in the morning. I couldn't do anything until I had at least read a few verses in the scriptures. It didn't have to be a half hour or anything. I at least had to read something in the scriptures. And
I love that. That's
and
great.
What that did for me, well, let me add on. So there would be other little things I'd put in there. Like I had to at least send out 3 emails. Or I at least had to do, whatever it was. And they were not hard. They were simple things. And I had about 3 to 5 simple things that I knew I needed to do every day. And what that did for me is, even if I didn't do anything the rest of the day, even if I laid in bed and I was in tons of pain, or I was stuck and I couldn't get anything else done, when I went to bed that night, I could go to bed happier than I was before I chose to do these little things. So I never went to bed feeling guilty that I didn't read my scriptures again. I never went to bed feeling guilty that I didn't do something to improve my business. or do something to make someone else happier that day or to ease their burdens. So though I may still feel guilty about I could have done more, I could at least go to bed at night feeling that I had done something. I had, and this is a big word, progressed. That I had done something to progress. And if you are progressing, you'll be happier. Even if it's little teeny things like that, you're at least moving forward. And as long as you're moving forward, you have hope. Because the second you stop moving forward, you lose hope. And if you don't have hope, you don't have anything. So,
oh my goodness. I love that. It's just so true. I mean, I love the whole idea of telling yourself to do these little things that are the most important first things first, right? And when you get those done consistently, then you consistently have progress. Like you said, you consistently have hope and you start to see, even though you mentioned like they're little things, but little things over time just make such a huge difference.
Yeah, this is not a new concept by any means. I'm not the first one to say it. It's just habits. You're creating habits.
Yeah.
And you're creating habits that you believe in, that you want. And so it makes you to move forward. And I think it's important to realize that you have to make the first step to progress is you have to make decision. You have to make a choice. And it doesn't mean that you have to lay there in bed and go, you know what, I've been depressed. I can't get out of bed. It's been months. My husband hates me. My kids are just a wreck. It's, my life's falling around me. I'm going to get up tomorrow and I'm going to change it around. And within a week, man, I'm going to have all the laundry done and I'm going to have the car cleaned up and I'm going to have all the groceries. I'm going to be fixing meals every night for the family. It's going to be awesome. That's not realistic. Not to mean it couldn't happen, but I think the first thing you have to do for progress is just make a choice that you're going to do something. Now, even if you haven't done anything, even if you're still laying in bed and you've mentally just decided, though, I'm going to do something. Right then, you have taken a little step in your mind. You haven't even done anything yet, except you made a choice. And when you make a choice, all of a sudden, it takes some of that weight off of you. Anytime you make a choice, it then allows you to put stuff aside. And then you move to your next choice. All right, I've chosen and I want to change and I'm going to. There's your little step. Now your next step may be, I'm going to sit up in bed and I'm going to stretch. You do it. Then your next step, I'm going to take a shower. And so it's just little, start with the little stuff. Don't go for the huge thing right at first. Because I don't want to say you're going to fail, but most likely you will. You have to start.
Well, you're setting yourself up. Yeah, you're setting yourself up for failure if you try to do too much too soon. Then, you want to have little wins, I guess is what it is. You want to start small so that you can know that you're accomplishing something and feel good about what you've accomplished.
Exactly. But I also want to, and I don't know where you want to go with this talk, but that would lead into something else that I would love to discuss is it's good to, you need to start with little steps, but you still need to dream big. And when I say big, I think you need to dream huge. Because I believe, I heard this once and I fully believe it, that if you have a dream or you have a big goal that you want to reach and you know everything you need to do to get there, you have it all planned out to get to that goal, you're not dreaming big enough. There should be doubt. You should have fear. You should be scared at times, and you should have the butterflies like crazy. But man, that's what brings all that joy and that happiness and all the excitement that comes from actually accomplishing it. If you have it all laid out, then you've already kind of done that. You already know what to expect. But if you go big and you go all in, that's when miracles happen. That's when the magic takes place.
That's a really cool thought, and something I feel every day is a little bit of doubt, a little bit of fear. So I guess I'm on the right track there. Um, and that actually, speaking of dreaming big, I want to make sure that we talk about something that you did that was really big and amazing, which is your big ride, your Share the Hope ride. Can you tell us a little bit about that, about what your family did?
Yeah, I can. My wife came to our family. Actually, she came to me first, and she said, "Nathan, there's something I want the family to do." And my wife, we don't like it when she gets sick. Not just for the fact that we don't eat as good and the laundry piles up. It's because when she
Right.
gets sick, she has to lay in bed, and she's a doer. So if she's sitting too long, her mind starts to go, and she starts thinking of all these things. And so she came to me as she was getting better. She said, "There's something I want our family to do." I said, "All right, what is it?" I said, "Well, I'm going to tell the family together." I said, "Well, that's good, but don't you discuss with your spouse first, and then we'll go to the family with it?" I said, "No, not this time. I want to just go to everyone." I said, "All right." So we had a kind of a family home evening, a family night. And my wife said, with all our 4 kids sitting around, and our kids' ages are, at that time, were 17, 16, 12, and 10. 3 girls and a boy. And she said, "I want us to raise money for people in wheelchairs in other countries. And how I want us to do this is to do a big fundraiser. And I want us to ride bicycles from Bend, Oregon, where Dad broke his neck at Mount Bachelor, to Los Angeles. That's 1,200 miles." Now, when she says that, I started to look. I didn't know what she was going to bring up, but I started looking around at the kids. I wanted to see what their reaction was. Because 1,200 miles is a long way. And I need to make it very clear
Yeah.
that our family is not a bike riding family. So when she brought this up, there's 6 of us in the family. We had 3 bikes and 2 of them had flats. So it was a big deal. And I watched our kids, and our kids are pretty athletic kids. And they asked a few questions. All right, so how long will this take? Where are we ending up exactly? What dates are we doing this? Because it's right in the middle of summer. You know, they're worried about losing their summer break. And within about 5 minutes, every single one of the kids said, "All right, I'm in. Let's do it." And I was so proud of them. I was scared at the same time because this was a big deal. And we didn't have a year to prepare for this. We had, I think it was 3.5 months from when she brought this up to when we were going to start riding. And we didn't have bikes. We didn't have funds to do all this. We didn't know where we were going. We didn't know who we were partnering with, who provides wheelchairs for people in other countries. So we had a lot to take on in a short period of time. But this was the perfect example of dreaming big. It wasn't do a bike ride here in town that we could get a lot of people to help raise money for. This was crazy. And
Yeah.
we were told that by a few people. You need to take more time. What are you guys thinking? This is dangerous. You're taking your 10-year-old all along the California coast on those roads? Are you kidding me? But it was awesome, and we took it on, and it was an amazing experience. We did it in July, and it took us 11 days, riding roughly around 120 miles a day. And we need to
Wow.
make it clear. This is not everyone rode 120 miles a day. We did it as a family, kind of a relay. So I may ride 20
Okay.
miles, then my son would pick up and ride 30, 40 miles. Someone else would ride 25. So we would cover it as a family, which I think makes it even better because it shows that we don't do anything by ourselves in this life.
Yeah.
You'll hear people say, "I got here all by myself. Nobody helped me." I think that's bull. Nobody succeeded in life and got to where they are, whether it's financially, as an actor, a singer, an athlete, whatever it is, without help from others along the way. And that's what it is in life. You cannot get through your challenges. You can't get out of that depression, being stuck. You can't get through the pain. You can't do all that unless you have help from people that you, as I like to say it in my book, is that you have to have a superior support system. People who will be there for you, who believe in you, and it doesn't matter what you say or do, they won't give up.
That's so awesome. I think that is just so cool that your family did that and raised money for people for wheelchairs. That's totally cool. And I love how you guys work together at that. Sadly, we are out of time, but I want people to know about what you have coming up. And I will definitely put a link to your book, Unfrozen, when I put the show notes and on Facebook so people can get a hold of that and your website. Be sure and let us know about that and anything else where you want to direct people.
I want you all to go to Nathan Ogden on YouTube. And as you pull it up, I'm the first one there. And we had a film crew come with us the whole time on this bike ride. And every day they tried to put together a 3 to 4 minute little video of what happened that day. And they're very inspirational. And you can go see all of them on YouTube right now. And they're putting together a documentary movie, about 45-minute movie that will be done here hopefully in about a month, that will be showing in different theaters in a few different states here in the West. And so we're really excited about that because we've been able to raise over $43,000 for wheelchairs for these people in other countries. And on top of that, in March, as a family, we're going to be going down and delivering these wheelchairs to one of these countries as a family. And that's
that's awesome.
That's the icing on the cake to me, is that they get to, I can't wait to see my little girls lifting up a little child and putting them onto a wheelchair and teaching them how to use it. You know, that's where the lives change. It's not just raising the money. It's not all that. It's actually being there and serving and helping.
Yeah.
So
that's so cool.
You guys should follow. You follow us on Facebook and whatever. It's awesome. It's going to be exciting. We have a lot going on, and we need help. Like anything, we need help. We need to make it happen.
So cool. Well, definitely, you guys go ahead and check out those videos. I've watched them. A couple brought tears to my eyes. I was definitely touched by the things that you and your family are doing, Nathan. So thank you so much for being here today. I think that we have learned a lot, and it's awesome to see how much that you have learned from your trials. I mean, we know that that's how it works, right? When we struggle, we learn, but I'm grateful that you are out there sharing it and doing all the good that you do. So thank you again for being here. Thank you everyone for listening to Moms Who Know. Subscribe to Moms Who Know so you never miss an episode, and join the conversation on Facebook at facebook.com/Moms Who Know podcast.